because it took forever for that command center to finish up. And of course it was really unfortunate that the first 4 Marines had to die as well against that Oracle.
Yeah, really crazy way for that game to play out. But now we're on Catalina, which is another map where we can get some crazy stuff going on. In the top right position, we have our red Terran player currently down 0-1 in this best of 5 from Team My Insanity. He is jjakji.
And on the right bottom side of Catalina, we have the blue Protoss player representing the Yowie Flesh Wolves. It is Asan. Now this should definitely be a map. I kind of feel if jjakji wants to win this series, Nate, Catalina is pretty much a must-win map for him.
Yes.
Like, if you don't win this, not only does he go down 0-2 and it will obviously be incredibly difficult, this is just kind of one of these maps as a Terran player you have to win against Protoss. It's drop paradise, it's really tricky. We saw it early today with Stardust versus MMA. Colossus are not the smartest units on this map. They like to go on little adventures where they shouldn't go. Not at this time of the day, at least.
Yeah, there's lots of cliffs to accidentally go up and down. jjakji is going to go with the command center first play. Seems to be a flavor of the day.
Yeah, on a map like this, I don't really mind it. Like on Overgrowth against Sejong, I'm always a tiny bit surprised, even though the majority of the times it's more than alright for the Terran, they will get away with it. But on a large map like this, I can kind of dig it, it makes sense. Curious to see, of course, how many Rexes will be the follow-up, but like you said, 3 is pretty much the go-to number. It would be pretty shocking if you would go, you know, something that Tasia used to do back in the days, 1 Rex and then actually factory after a command center first opening. But that's one of those builds where if your opponent opens up with a little bit of gateway pressure, it could be the end.
Yeah, that's no. Those are reason why those builds aren't popular. Any type of early pressure, even that Oracle build, like if your Widowmine doesn't kill it, you don't really have the Marine production necessary to deal with that type of play. But 2 barracks makes sense. That's the gold standard, as you put it. There are a couple ways that you can follow this up with. There's greedy, get a 3rd command center. You just play straight up 3rd barracks, then take your gas. I don't think anyone's gonna do anything as crazy as Pole. I'd be really surprised if we ever saw that building in, because that was just
the blue flame
that was so out. That was so far out.
I think we're definitely going to see it again. I'm not sure if it's going to be as successful, but there's a good chance. I do not think that even if you're jjakji and like you see that building, you're like, hey, that actually looks promising. You can't just bust something like that out in the WCS round of 16, like something that you haven't practiced. If this is like a second stage of a double elimination tournament, like try to mess around with it, try to see if it's fun or not, and if you drop the map, who cares? Well, it doesn't work like that in the round of 16. There is no loser bracket here, and this is the biggest tournament of the year.
And this is as important as high level as it's going to get for the WCS circuit in 2014. Taking a gamble like that on a build you never do would be pretty brave. He actually has gone for the gas though, and he's not getting add-ons yet, but it's just a single gas.
Yeah, it's a single gas.
So I still want to think that if you only go for 1 gas, most Terran builds that rely on 1 gas are like generally going to be a 3 command center play, because you won't have any upgrades. You won't be able to get like your upgrades and your reactor without having to wait like 30 seconds past it finishing. Now the Reaper,
interesting.
Okay. That's not common. I think I've seen Flash do it once or twice. It's not popular, but the scouting is still nice. This map is still good for scouting. It's
funny because, of course, Protoss players are often very keen on preventing scouting information early on. But then in a certain point where you don't really expect a Reaper anymore, you just put your units in the front, or you worry about different things, and then suddenly a Reaper hopping into your base is the last thing you expect. So it could potentially work out well for jjakji. Of course, the Reaper won't get a whole lot of kills, but it will get scouting information done, which saves him from having to drop a scan.
Yeah, and I actually love this. We're seeing a lot of this here now that we've kicked off the WCS Global Finals, and that's people busting out not the 100% cookie cutter standard builds, because this is when you would have saved anything weird you would have had planned, and it's kind of cool. The command center first into Reaper isn't popular. Something that people do, you can, but
wow.
It's nice. It's nice to see him busted out in a really fast RoboBang.
Yeah, definitely. 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and the robotics base already going down in the back of the natural of Sun. That's pretty much as quick as they get, unless you're trying to do it from 1 base, but I don't really recommend that as a Protoss player.
No, that's
thinking out of the box is one thing, Nate, but a 1-base RoboBay build, it's questionable.
Yeah.
So here that Reaper hops into the main, it will spot the robotics facility, and it saw that additional gateway go down as well. Nate, we have a War Prism on the production tab. Don't Don't. No. I refuse to believe that this is.
I don't want to believe, Roddy.
This is not a thing now, is it? Now I think he's just
No.
gonna send it across the map.
Oh, those 4 gas geysers, he could afford it. He could afford to get Colossus range and a Colossus, Roddy, with this Warp Prism. How brave is he? Is he a bad enough dude to Colossus drop?
I think he's going to do it as well.
Oh, man.
He's hiding the Warp Prism in the back of his main, so it's already there.
Is he showboating, or was he like, if I play Catalina, I will do this build?
Yeah, maybe he's like, man, I really don't know what to do on Catalina. And then he watched the classic on Nimbus. He's like, yeah, not bad.
it's an alright build, man.
Yeah.
It's not a bad build.
I can see that work. Let's give it a go.
It's for years, people were like, you know, this really shouldn't be a thing, guys. Colossus dropping, we shouldn't do it. Now all of a sudden, we're going to see it twice in the top 16.
The sky is the limit, that's for sure.
Last big tournament of the year. Can't hold anything back now.
Now, of course, going back at that game from... there we go, picked up the Colossus. Of course, going back at the game, what really helped out Classic in that game is that Paul just picked up 2 medevacs full of bio units and was already on the other side of the map. If you have all your units at home, it's a little easier to deal with silly things like this. And if Sun reveals his hand too quickly, I think it's going to be a lot easier for jjakji to deal with it than it was for Paul. Because the timings are very different.
You always want to wait for the Terran player to be on their way to your base. Then you just defend with your sentries, but you don't want this army to be able to stim back and run home.
Yep. 9 minutes and 30 seconds is indeed normally the phase in the game where the medevacs are about to pop and they should be going on their little adventure. Here comes the Colossus. It should be a Zealot warp in as well as 4 gateways are ready, or at least almost ready. It's just 2 gateways for now. 2 Zealots is not a very spectacular warp in.
No, well, he's going to load up and go straight for the main base of San. jjakji wants to bring the counter pressure. Now both players have to multitask.
He's a risky decision, eh? That's a very risky decision that could backfire.
Armory gets delayed. Colossus is ready. Force fields prepared, and jjakji will get nothing done in San's base. That Warp Prism still dancing around. Delaying that armory is also very important with that engineering bay because you're delaying the Terran players' upgrades. Because to be fair, it's actually quite a fast armory.
Marines coming in from the south side.
Oh, no.
jjakji-san.
You've got a lot of airspace. Just use it, man. Just go chill. Chill for a little bit.
It's precious cargo for a reason.
A single Viking is done, so he actually should still be able to box this in if he.
But I think if he drops the Colossus against those 5 Marines are not going to kill him.
Oh yeah, he could probably just kill that. Good point.
Yep. You gotta do it now, though, son. The longer you wait, the closer that Viking will come.
He's just gonna go for that big 2-base push as a follow-up.
Yep.
This is fantastic. These Marines don't have combat shield. He can't really maneuver too well, and if he runs back to that main base...
There's a good chance that this is into a very crazy base trade.
That Warp Prism's a very nice pickoff. Is there a pylon nearby for reinforcement?
Yeah, on the left side.
Well then.
I'm very worried for jjakji. jjakji's army supply is nowhere near where it's supposed to be. We're looking at 42 Terran army supply against 64. jjakji is losing more and more units in the main base as well.
And the double photon overcharge with that Colossus production, it's a great backbone. Now this Widow Mine looks okay.
That's a good
little bit of damage, but still, you have 3 Colossi to deal with.
Yep, and there are only 3 Vikings out right now. These 3 Vikings have to get a ridiculous amount of shots off.
He's gonna lose his natural. It's like, well, can't defend this. Force field on the main base ramp is fantastic as well. jjakji bringing everything over here. Barely gonna kill 1 Colossus, and everything else dies. Coming back with the drop, but the force fields there are also on point. Could have targeted down the Vikings faster, but it doesn't matter.